Joining us on the Buck Stops here tonight, writer, poet, critic, Sahitya Akademi Award winner and Fellow of the Royal Society of Literature, Amit Chaudhary. Welcome to the Buck Stops here. Your new book, Friend of My Youth, is about a writer who's also called Amit Chaudhary on a book tour in Bombay. You or the narrator refuses to call it Mumbai, which is also the city of his childhood. Now, is the Mumbai of today far more parochial and perhaps less cosmopolitan than the Bombay of the author-narrator's childhood?
Well, its politics are very, very different from the kind of politics of the city in which I grew up. But the politics of India is different from the politics of the India in which I grew up in the 60s and 70s. It's in the 80s that Bombay began to change and the Shiv Sena became a force and remade itself both as a Marathi and a kind of Hindu chauvinist to a certain extent party, or a party that was sympathetic to Hindu chauvinism. And the rise of the BJP at that time also became very visible in that city. But at the same time, the extension of the city becoming less recognizable in the terms in which we knew it, and just becoming larger began to happen in the 80s. In the 90s, I think after deregulation, the city was actually energized by globalization. But the demarcation separating, crime and politics and showbiz and other forms of life also begin to dissolve.
So the Bombay of today or the Mumbai of today is a city you feel you're an outsider to?
Yeah, I feel I'm an outsider to it, yes. But then I feel an outsider to Calcutta as well.
Now that you bring up Calcutta or Kolkata, once again, there's a parochial name there as well. But it's a city you've written about extensively. You've also closely observed Bengal politics. What do you make of the recent controversy over Ram Navami processions in the city with swords and trishuls?
Well, I mean, the swords and trishuls are comic to a certain extent, but they are also threatening in the sense that the idea of the BJP making inroads with this very kind of alien and invented agenda is worrying because as they begin to make inroads, they will bring in a set of values which are quite alien to that part of the world historically. Because the cultural antecedents, as has been discussed also, Bengal go back to Buddhism, etc. So, and then later on to things like the Brahmo Samaj, which had a great kind of cultural.
But there seems to be a great deal of public support for these rallies. There have been 150 of them all across Bengal, including several in Kolkata, and they've all had, fairly large numbers showing up for them.
Yeah. Public support, yes, because the public has grievances of all kinds against past dispensations and maybe even current ones. So there will be public support because it seems like an easy thing to do to support something which wants to rehaul or overhaul all the values which you now no longer trust. But people are not taking into account what it means to bring in long term another set of values which are actually alien to all of us in India, because we've spent such a long time with certain freedoms after independence and fought hard for those freedoms, took them for granted, take them for granted even now. We aren't reckoning with what it means for those other kind of values to actually become a part of our lives, and the kind of infringements on the freedoms we've taken for granted they will entail.
And clearly you mean freedom of speech and expression as well when you talk about freedoms being curtailed. And it's not just books or authors anymore. You know, we're seeing crackdowns on Facebook posts, on WhatsApp messages, on stuff that is being circulated on social media. You've actually raised this question in an article you wrote for the London Review of Books about whether state and central authorities in India are constitutionally empowered to crack down in the way in which they do. What really is the answer to that?
The answer is well, several things. I mean, there are several things which have created this situation. One is a lack of clarity about the constitution and legal position. The other is a lack of courage.
Yes.
And then there is the complicity, the indulgence we've shown historically towards these parties and these values because it has benefited us in some way to have some kind of a, tete-a-tete with them. But then also, I think within the so-called secular middle class, a lack of openness within itself. So a kind of world of entitlement has come into being in India, even in this city, Delhi, and in various cities, which has alienated a lot of people. And the secular liberal middle class is not as liberal actually as it should be. It's not as open as it should be. It doesn't examine its limitations as much as it should. And that's why it's distrusted.
All right. Thank you very much indeed for joining us on the show tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you.